I think it's a little frustrating to see that a lot of the films that are released in cinemas today are either reboots or sequels. By the end of the year, there will have been 37 films based on pre-existing popular movies released in the cinema. It's pretty clear why this is. With successful materials out there, it creates less of a risk for studios to put money into an idea that people are familiar with. With successful materials out there, it creates less of a risk for studios to put money into an idea that people are familiar with, rather than making something new and original that could potentially make less money. I really like originality within filmmaking, and making something that's been done before can get really quite tedious. However, there are some exceptions to this. When there is a story that can't be told within the time frame of a regular film, it's probably for the best interest of the filmmakers to tell the story in two parts. This was done really well with Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2, as well as the Back to the Future films. Both of these sets of films were shot at the same time. They both had a story that relies on one another to make sense. The filmmakers can look at each film as a whole story, and evaluate if the films work well with each other, allowing for fine-tuning and no guesswork for the future films. This is one way that sequels can work well. However, this isn't the case for a lot of sequels. The Matrix was a huge film that had groundbreaking special effects, but also a unique concept that people liked a lot. Both of the sequels did very well at the box office, and some people really liked the second film, The Matrix Reloaded. But because of the original film's high expectations and the limited narrative that the first film left to work with, the sequels were somewhat of a letdown to the fans of the original film. I think that this has a lot to do with there being no clear way to continue a story, with the already established characters and narrative. There are a lot of other things to consider when sequels are being made. Direction, production, design, marketing, screenplay, and a host of other things can be done poorly that leads to a bad sequel. It's a difficult question to think about because we have cases like Star Wars that show us that sequels can improve on an already brilliant idea. One of the biggest films last year was Star Wars The Force Awakens. It was a sequel of Episode 6 Return of the Jedi, which in itself was a continuation of two previous films, The Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope. These are all brilliant films that take place in this magical universe that build a backstory for a lot of characters and one another. Other than A New Hope, each of these films would find it hard to find their own ground to stand on, because of the already established characters and story. These films were successful because of the amazing work that had been put into them, because they were well made and had a story that they could base themselves on. While I think it's safe to say that the sequels made were good, there is a lot to be said about the prequels. This was done with the same concept as a sequel, take an established and popular film and expand on it. These weren't liked at all by the fans, because of the way the films were produced, because of the way that the films were produced to be marketed towards kids. Not so much to provide fans and moviegoers with an enjoyable experience, but to create a new way to make money from the franchise. This is done with reboots a lot as well. Reboots like Transformers, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and Ghostbusters are all made as a way to profit on the well-known characters and stories of previous films and television shows. The Transformers films have grossed a huge amount of money at the box office. This was done by saturating their films with a spectacle of giant transforming robots, explosions, and attractive women. The new Ghostbusters film actually does something new when considering reboots. It changes around gender roles as a way to grow a female audience, while simultaneously tries to bring its old following to a new era of films. While this movie hasn't widely been considered a great film, it has definitely done well at the box office, and produced unique role models for girls all over the world. This is going to be interesting to see how this film affects the way that new reboots are made. Overall, I don't think it's necessarily that reboots and prequels are inherently bad movies. I just think it's the same way with any other film. Movies require a certain standard of filmmaking for its audience to enjoy them. When films are made badly, they will always be considered bad films. It's quite simply like that. Studios only see profit to be made when it comes to this topic, which isn't really a bad thing, as long as there are some good films to be made. Well, that's all I have to say about this. I'd really like to know what you thought about this video, so if you'd like, you can leave a rating to let me know. My name is James Hayes, and thank you for watching.